was Garrett Blackwood's lost sister, separated from my alpha brother for 10 years. When I finally returned to Stormfang Pack, I discovered he already had an adopted sister. I became the unwanted one. Even when I was brutally murdered, no one sought justice for me. Not until 3 years later when the case was reopened and my diary was found. Only then did my powerful alpha brother finally collapse under the weight of his delayed remorse. I was Alpha Garrett's lost sister. But when I finally returned to Pack, I found my brother already had another adopted sister. I became the unwanted one. Even when I was brutally murdered, everyone thought I deserved it, and no one sought justice for me. 3 years after my death, the investigators who handled my case were caught taking bribes. Given the case's widespread implications and massive social impact, the highest authority, the Alpha Council, decided to launch a full reinvestigation. They appointed a respected elder to personally lead the investigation, showing how seriously they took it. The review process would be open to the public. But Pack members weren't happy about reopening my case. They'd heard rumors about my supposed promiscuity and bullying of my adopted sister. The Alpha treated her so well. She was just an ungrateful wolf. She probably made it all up in her head. All lies. Arya Blackwood deserved to die. Even my once loving brother showed no mercy. She doesn't deserve to be my sister. Everyone despised me. The truth only came out when a sealed, private diary, my diary, was presented as key evidence before all Pack members. Marcus Ironwood had just been promoted to chairman of the Pack Council's Criminal Investigation Committee. He needed to review all cases handled by his corrupt predecessor, especially the high-profile ones. The Arya Blackwood murder case was first on the list, a sensational case that had rocked the Pack world. When Pack members learned about the reinvestigation, their reaction was explosive. What's questionable about this case? Arya Blackwood got what she deserved. Exactly. Why waste Pack resources on someone like her? How could there be any hidden truth? Damn it, having to go to that slut Arya's place. This is fucking unlucky. Why does this world need to give justice to someone like Arya Blackwood? Arya had a messy private life. She was reckless because her family had money. She probably provoked some rogue wolves and got revenge. Cases like this don't need investigation. If she didn't have dirty secrets, why would an Alpha's sister choose to live in such a remote place? Elder Marcus, you've changed. Now you even want to overturn ironclad cases. Getting promoted really made you lazy. There's no need to give that slut Arya so much attention. Just live your own life. Marcus Ironwood frowned as he read the social media feedback about the Arya Blackwood murder case. Seeing everyone cursing and complaining gave him a headache. But this was the council's assignment. Regardless of public opinion, he had to uncover the truth. Before the case details were released, online criticism continued. Marcus called a press conference to calm public sentiment. Everyone relax. Don't you know what kind of person I am? I'm reopening this case to verify the legal procedures back then, not to whitewash someone who could cruelly harm even her own family. Marcus held up the case files, raising an eyebrow at the camera. Rest assured, we'll update you on the investigation progress regularly to ensure fair and transparent review. This will allow Pack members to supervise us at any time. The crowd immediately cheered. Everyone praised Marcus for his excellent work. At the same time, in Stormfang Pack Alpha's safe house. Damn it! My brother Garrett Blackwood crushed the wine glass in his hand when he saw the news. Arya's been dead for 3 years. Can't she just stay quiet in that godforsaken place? He angrily lit a cigarette and watched the smoke rise before making a phone call. This cannot reach Sophia's ears. I won't let Arya's name cause Sophia pain again. Just as he finished speaking, Sophia approached from behind and stopped in her tracks. She looked at Garrett with hurt in her eyes, saying sadly, "Brother, sister is already dead. I've come to terms with it. Even though Arya hurt me back then, she paid the price. We're all still here and well. People need to look forward. I don't want to dwell on past mistakes." Then Sophia's biological father emerged, his face twisted with malice as he snarled, "That girl deserved to die. If not for her, you wouldn't have suffered so much. As Stormfang Pack's future Luna, Don't compromise yourself too much for the greater good. He glared at the chaotic press conference on TV. Feeling irritated, he poured himself a glass of wine and gulped it down. As for that disgraceful thing, she's been dead 3 years and still won't stay quiet. I'd like to see what other tricks she has up her sleeve. To ensure the investigation was properly documented, Marcus Ironwood applied for full audio and video recording. A camera crew would follow him throughout, and the PAC News Network would create a dedicated section for PAC members to monitor the proceedings. The crime scene was located in a dilapidated 2-story wooden house on the PAC territory's edge. The surrounding trees had grown wild without care, and even in daylight, the thick canopy made everything eerily dark. Marcus gripped a flashlight, its beam dancing across the rotting front door. Weeds choked the area. No one lived nearby. The single beam of light only made the place feel more desolate. He caught the scent of decay as he approached the entrance. With a gentle push, the door crashed to the ground with a thunderous bang. Marcus stood frozen, staring at what lay before him. His shocked voice was captured on camera. "What the hell is this?" The walls were covered in moss and vines. Through the patches of withered leaves, you could see blackened bloodstains underneath. The cameraman stepped forward for a close-up shot. Online comments flooded in immediately. Aria Blackwood was completely insane. How could she live in such a disgusting place? This girl was desperate for attention, making it look so realistic. I heard she used to torture cats and dogs. Probably splattered that blood herself. Exactly. Someone who could hurt innocent animals. What wouldn't she do? She got exactly what she deserved. Maybe some guy got tired of her drama queen act, always saying she wanted to die, so he just sent her to her grave. Ha ha ha. Well done. Funny, isn't it? Watching these online comments, I found them amusing too. My death had become entertainment for strangers. They didn't even know who I was. Had never met me. Yet based on vicious rumors alone, they launched their brutal attacks. Perhaps they didn't care either. Their self-righteous justice was built on my bones. Marcus frowned slightly as he carefully examined the environment, then began feeling around the loose bricks in the corners. Whoosh! A gust of wind blew through, forcing open an already loose window. The curtains danced with filthy, stained sheets. Thud! A diary fell to the ground. Marcus opened to the first page and began reading. June 10, 2013. On my way home today, I was stopped by someone claiming to be my brother, Garrett Blackwood. He apologized to me, saying that during the PAC conflicts 10 years ago, he failed to protect me, allowing an enemy PAC to kidnap me. My birth parents never stopped searching for me after I disappeared. When they couldn't find me anywhere, they eventually died of heartbreak. I was so happy. I had a brother. I wasn't abandoned after all. Brother told me that after our parents died, he was adopted by their close friends. They have a daughter too, and they're all good people who will treat me well. But I knew it would be different. He's my blood brother, he'll love me unconditionally. But others won't. When we got home, the adoptive parents were polite but distant to me, while warmly welcoming my brother. They asked him all sorts of questions about me, and brother answered every one. Brother told me our birth parents had passed away years earlier. They loved me so much. After I went missing, they never gave up searching. After we were reunited, I became very dependent on him. For the first time in my 16 years, I felt care from family. I wanted to move out and live with brother, but the adoptive parents disagreed. They thought brother couldn't take care of me properly on his own, so they decided I should stay with them as part of the family. Brother agreed. Actually, my adoptive parents never really liked me. It became even more obvious after I turned 18 and failed to complete my first shift, confirming I was just an omega. They cut off my allowance, saying I was an adult now. When Sophia took the money I earned from part-time jobs, they said I was being petty. Sisters should naturally give their younger sisters spending money. But in front of brother, they always acted polite and restrained, making brother think they treated me and their daughter equally. I really love my brother. His presence made my life so much better. He'd tease me for being a little shadow, but he always took me everywhere with him. At school, many classmates looked down on me because of my omega status. They mocked and bullied me. When brother found out, he got so angry he went and fought them. At home, the adoptive parents scolded me, saying I shouldn't run to brother over small conflicts between classmates. Brother was an alpha heir with many responsibilities. Wasting his time and getting him hurt was inappropriate. I said nothing. After dinner, I went to brother's room to help treat his wounds. It's really not a big deal. I'm used to it. Don't be so impulsive next time. Silly girl, how can you get used to something like that? From now on, with brother here, I'll protect you. Seeing his smile, I nodded silently, thinking how wonderful it was to have a brother. At least in this world, I was no longer alone. Brother is the best person in the world. Marcus had only read the first page, but he could already see the timid girl who had slowly emerged from her shell under her brother's protection. I couldn't help but feel heartbroken. Back then, I was still Garrett Blackwood's precious little sister, not the despised rat that everyone wanted to destroy. Back then, I thought I finally had family who would stand by me through thick and thin. I could enjoy the warmth of loved ones. Garrett fell silent for a long moment. He seemed to remember the day he found me, recalling all the moments we'd shared together. In that instant, he suddenly felt terrible. The sister he'd sworn to protect. How had things turned out this way? Sophia's face turned ashen. She quickly grabbed Garrett's arm, tears welling up in her eyes again. Garrett, it's all my fault. If it weren't for me, Sister Arya wouldn't have been forced to move out. If she'd kept living with us, she wouldn't have died. You two had such a good relationship, and I ruined it all. I killed Sister Arya. It's all my fault. Hearing the crying beside him, Garrett's expression instantly turned cold. The nostalgia that had filled him moments before transformed into disgust. He tenderly pulled Sophia into his embrace. Sophia, how could this be your fault? If it weren't for Arya, you wouldn't have been hurt. You wouldn't have lost our child. Kicking her out was already me being merciful. This is all because of her endless greed. When he mentioned this, Garrett's fists clenched so tight that veins bulged. The pain brought him back to reality. He kissed Sophia's forehead. She destroyed our flesh and blood. She doesn't deserve to be my sister. The adoptive parents, who had never felt much for me anyway, now comforted Sophia. Sophia dear, we took her in years ago to give you a companion. We never imagined she'd be such an ungrateful wolf. She hurt you so many times out of jealousy, and you still defend her. You're too kind. She's gone now. Don't keep dwelling on this. Living your own life well is what matters most. The parents watched the news report with gritted teeth. Their family was happy and harmonious, while I had always been an outsider disrupting their peace. Marcus turned to the second page of the diary. August 15, 2013. On the night of the Pack Unity Festival, I came home to find Sophia clinging to brother and acting cute. I felt a familiar dread. Here it was again. She'd always been able to effortlessly take away everything I cared about. My parents' affection, the stuffed animals I'd cherished for years, teachers and classmates' favoritism. Now it was my brother's turn? When brother saw me return, he told me to come listen to Sophia talk about her study abroad experiences. Brother's attention was completely captured by Sophia. He didn't even glance at me once. My heart ached. My adoptive parents, who were always cold and distant with me, now looked at Sophia with adoration as she spoke animatedly. They kept responding and praising her excellence to my brother. When they noticed my silence, they told me not to be petty. We were all family. Brother said he would treat both his sisters equally from now on. I nodded numbly, letting Sophia enthusiastically lean against me and grab my arm. She said she envied me for having a brother who appeared out of nowhere, and that she was thrilled to finally have a sister. She liked me so much and wanted to sleep in my room that night. In the middle of the night, I was awakened by her screams. The bed was covered in blood. I got up to see her clutching her arm as blood kept pouring out. Before I could understand what was happening, my adoptive mother burst into the room and shoved me to the ground. They all called me vicious for hurting my own sister. Looking at the bloodied silver letter opener beside me and brother's disappointed eyes, I panicked. I hadn't done anything at all. November 23, 2013. Today was my and Sophia's birthday. Since no one knew my exact birth date, Sophia suggested we celebrate together to make it more lively. The adoptive parents agreed. No one thought to ask what I, the person involved, actually wanted. This year I was really excited because I had brother. That evening, I watched Sophia in her beautiful dress hugging our parents and thanking them for the expensive healing crystals they'd given her. I looked down at the formal dress that didn't fit me properly and smiled as usual. When brother came home, I happily accepted the gift he'd prepared for me. After thanking him, I wanted to go to my room to treasure it properly, but Sophia stopped me. She waved the gift box in her hand, saying she wanted us to open our presents together because that way we could share double the happiness. I hesitated, looking at brother's smiling face. I couldn't refuse. After opening the gifts, Sophia stared at the emerald bracelet on my wrist as it reflected brilliant light. She looked envious and said it was exactly what she'd always wanted. She hoped I'd trade it for her pink diamond ring. Under the expectant gazes of our adoptive parents, I slipped off the emerald bracelet and handed it to her. Of course, I never got the pink diamond. January 27, 2014. For the new year, brother asked me where I wanted to go during the holidays. I said I wanted to see the ocean. He promised to take me to the beach, to walk on sand and sunbathe. But when I finished packing and was ready to leave with brother, I saw Sophia waiting by the car. Brother said Sophia heard we were going to the beach and wanted to come too. My smile became forced. When I finally saw the ocean, I ran joyfully toward the waves, turning back to share this moment of happiness with brother. But I found Sophia linking arms with brother as they strolled slowly behind me. When she saw me looking back, Sophia raised her hand and waved. My joy instantly burst like a popped bubble. That evening there was a bonfire party on the beach. Watching them dance together in the crowd, I felt completely unnecessary. That night, Sophia didn't return to her room. February 14, 2014. I went out to throw away trash and saw Sophia hugging brother. Brother pushed her away. She ran home crying and told me she loved my brother. She also told me to stop monopolizing him all the time. Marcus stared blankly for a long moment. Reading the entries, he saw only a girl desperate for love, wanting to fit into her family, but constantly being pushed aside. Even the brother I considered my only support didn't favor me. He couldn't understand how such a love-starved young woman became the despised slut everyone hated. After the case updates were posted online, the hateful comments continued flooding in. No wonder she attacked Sophia later. What a shameless bitch. Even if you're starved for love, you can't do such disgusting things. Marcus's social media was drowning in abuse. He opened the diary again and continued reading. Despite being constantly ignored by my adoptive parents, my biological brother was supposed to be different. I hoped to earn brother's favoritism, but all I got was disappointment. I was hurt that brother always chose to stand by Sophia's side, so I decided to stop focusing my energy on home. I began socializing outside and started building a new life. I even decided to find love. In my diary, I wrote about meeting my destined mate under the moon goddess's guidance. Marcus felt happy for me as he read. I no longer had to wait for the scraps of affection my family might throw me way. Someone truly loved me now. This sweetness lasted for a long time. My entries were filled with emotional stability and joy. But soon, the diary took on a completely different tone again. May 17, 2015. I saw the chat messages between my boyfriend and Sophia. She was ruthlessly attacking me, listing all my flaws while subtly showing off her own superiority. My mate's replies offered no defense of me. Instead, he agreed with Sophia's complaints and expressed concern about my omega status, saying I'd be of little help to his future. When I confronted her about it, she called me worthless. She said an omega could never hold on to an excellent man. She told me, whether it's our parents, your brother, or your boyfriend, I just have to crook my finger and they'll all choose me. Soon after, my boyfriend broke up with me. His reason? That I didn't respect his privacy and invaded it by looking at his phone. Watching the ongoing coverage, Garrett frowned slightly. He turned to look at Sophia, seemingly contemplating whether the diary entries were true or false. He'd always prided himself on being fair and impartial, supporting what was right rather than blood relations. The only reason he'd consistently sided with Sophia was because Arya had always been causing trouble. This whole thing felt like a tangled mess. Maybe Arya had written it all deliberately. Sophia loved him so much. How could she possibly seduce other people's boyfriends on purpose? June 20th, 2015. Brother and Sophia got together. She happily shared this news with me and warmly invited me to dinner. I couldn't refuse, so I agreed. At the restaurant, she kept sharing her happy moments with brother. I listened quietly. I went to the restroom. And when I returned, I found Sophia collapsed. Just as I was about to check on her, brother arrived to pick her up. Brother rushed over to help Sophia up. Seeing her blackened lips with blood at the corners, he suspected she'd been poisoned and rushed her to the pack hospital. Sure enough, Sophia had been poisoned with wolfsbane. The poison was in her wine. The healer said it was lucky she didn't drink much, or her life would have been in danger. When Sophia woke up, she made strange apologetic statements to me. She told our parents and brother not to blame me, saying I just couldn't accept brother being with his sister, which drove me to such extreme measures as poisoning her. She said she could understand my feelings and didn't blame me. I protested that I had no intention of hurting her, and demanded the pack council investigate this vicious poisoning. But Sophia magnanimously said she didn't want to pursue it. Then I became the murderer in everyone's eyes. July 8, 2015. After Sophia's poisoning, she received everyone's love and protection, while I faced the entire world's hostility. I became labeled as someone who could poison even the sister she'd grown up with. Not only my social circle but even the internet was filled with abuse toward me. Brother called to scold me for being too vicious. My adoptive parents told me to get out of their house. Walking down the street, I felt like the whole world was laughing at me. I went to the Alpha Council to file a report hoping they'd investigate and clear my name. But they said the victim needed to file the complaint. Sophia, who was physically injured, was the victim. I, the one being attacked by everyone around me and online, was the suspect. No one believed me, no one cared, and I couldn't defend myself. August 18, 2015. The doctor said I had severe depression. Even worse, Sophia asked me to meet her at the pack territory's edge, and told me she'd done it all. She said my very existence was a mistake. Why should brother still want to give me a chance when things had reached this point? She had to completely destroy me to feel truly at peace. During our argument, rogue wolves suddenly appeared. In the rush to escape, I wanted to flee with Sophia, but she got in the car first, slammed the door, and drove away. She left me and Omega alone to face the vicious rogue wolves. I was surrounded and torn apart by them, quickly losing consciousness. When I woke up again, I was in the pack hospital. My adoptive parents stood by my bed, demanding to know why I would treat my sister this way. I looked at my adoptive mother in confusion. Seeing that I remained silent, she slapped me hard. "You're too evil. We could overlook your jealous little schemes against Sophia before, but now you actually conspired with rogue wolves to hurt her. She's your sister." I said I didn't do it, but they forced me to kneel and apologize. When Sophia woke up, she just kept crying, begging me not to hurt her. I couldn't defend myself. I didn't understand how things had turned out this way. I was clearly the victim. The latest case developments were broadcasting on TV. Sophia emerged from the kitchen carrying a plate of cut fruit into the living room, her movements deliberately calm and controlled. "Mom, Dad, don't get upset. I cut some fruit for you." She set the plate down with practiced gentleness, her voice soft and soothing. "It's been so long since everything happened. There's no need to get angry with a dead person, right?" The adoptive mother reached for Sophia's hand, squeezing it gratefully. "You're always so thoughtful, dear." "Unlike some people," the adoptive father muttered, his eyes never leaving the screen. On TV, Marcus's expression was complex as he held my diary. His hands trembled slightly. If everything written in this diary is true, then he paused, swallowing hard. Could she really have been innocent? Those words hit me like lightning. Hearing them, hope stirred in my heart for the first time in years. Was there really someone willing to believe me? Someone who could see past the lies? But then Garrett scoffed loudly from his chair. "Innocent? Are you kidding me? He stood up abruptly, his wine glass slamming down on the coffee table. Just based on one diary? People always beautify their own actions to excuse themselves. How can anyone believe that garbage? His voice grew more aggressive with each word. Arya was full of lies. I experienced it firsthand. Every single day. He pointed at the TV screen accusingly. She might fool others, but she can't fool me. I lived with her. I saw what she was really like. Sophia's lips curved into the faintest smile, quickly hidden behind a concerned expression. Garrett, please don't get worked up. Your blood pressure. I'm fine, he snapped, then caught himself. His voice softened when addressing her. Sorry, babe. It's just seeing people fall for her manipulation even after death. He moved toward his phone, jaw clenched. I'm calling the Alpha Council. This meaningless investigation ends now. But just as he reached for his phone, Marcus's voice came through the TV again. October 18, 2015. I've been kicked out. That brief sentence made Garrett freeze mid-motion. His hand hovered over his phone. What? He whispered. After standing frozen for a long moment, his expression darkened. Without another word, he stormed out of the room. Garrett, wait. Sophia called after him, but he was already gone. The adoptive parents exchanged worried glances. What does that mean? The mother asked. Kicked out of where? On screen, Marcus was examining the diary more closely. He noticed that the once neat handwriting had become increasingly erratic and messy, just like its owner had completely fallen into the abyss. Marcus shook his head slowly, his voice barely audible to the microphone. This poor girl, what did they do to you? He probably never expected that what should have been a routine review of a closed case would reveal my shattered, pathetic life. When Marcus saw the water stains on the diary pages, old tear marks that had dried long ago, he sighed helplessly. A girl who'd gone from hopeful anticipation to being completely consumed by despair. He looked directly into the camera. How did no one see this? How did no one help her? However, those following the case online couldn't feel his sorrow. The comment section exploded with fresh vitriol. What decent person keeps a diary? She definitely left it behind on purpose to disgust us. This is all fake. Calculated manipulation. Exactly. Sophia is the future Luna, working tirelessly to manage the pack. How could she frame someone like her? Sophia and Garrett are a perfect match. Why would she need to hurt some jealous Omega? She writes like such a victim, but we all know what really happened. Stop trying to rewrite history with fake tears. Marcus ignored the flood of comments and continued reading, his voice growing steadier with determination. Let me continue with the diary entries. The truth deserves to be heard. April 25, 2016. I curled up on the couch watching Brother's TV interview. The reporter asked him about his mate, and he smiled so brightly when he said Sophia's name. She's everything I could have asked for, he said. Beautiful, intelligent, kind. The perfect Luna for our pack. Brother has found the person he loves most, while I remain completely alone. Everyone in the comments was praising how well matched they were. Power couple. Perfect genes. The moon goddess blessed this union. In their happy, colorful life, I was the only dark spot. The sister who didn't belong. I turned off the TV and went to my medicine cabinet. Antidepressants, anxiety medication, sleeping pills. I threw them all in the trash. What's the point anymore? Marcus paused, clearly affected by the entry. She was giving up. Completely giving up on life. May 13, 2016. My ex-boyfriend Derek came to my apartment today. Said he wanted to get back together. I miss you, Arya. Things with my new girlfriend aren't working out. I told him no. I'm not anyone's backup plan. His face changed instantly. You ungrateful bitch. You think you're too good for me now. He grabbed my arm hard enough to bruise. You're damaged goods, Arya. No one else will ever want you. This is your only chance. I still said no. He left calling me every name in the book. Maybe he's right. Maybe I am damaged goods. But I won't let anyone use me anymore. June 5, 2016. Brother called about our birth parents' inheritance. Apparently they left me half of everything. It's quite substantial, Arya. Enough to start over somewhere new if you want. His voice was careful, like he was talking to a wild animal that might bolt. We need to handle the paperwork together. Legal stuff, you know? I hung up without answering. Money won't bring them back. Money won't fix what's broken. Besides, why does he care now? Where was this concern when Sophia was poisoning everyone against me? The online comments shifted slightly as people absorbed these entries. Wait, she actually had an inheritance. Why didn't anyone mention that before? Maybe she wasn't just some poor Omega after all, but most comments remained hostile. Still doesn't excuse her behavior. Money doesn't make you innocent. Marcus took a deep breath before reading the final entry. June 18, 2016. After our last unpleasant phone conversation, my mood improved slightly today. Maybe it was the sunshine, or maybe I was just tired of being angry all the time. I decided to go find brother. Maybe we could actually talk for once, without Sophia there to twist everything. I waited outside the Alpha Council building for hours. When he finally came out, he looked exhausted. Dark circles under his eyes, shoulders slumped. He didn't take his car, just started walking. I wanted to call out to him, but I couldn't find the words. What do you say to someone who chose your enemy over you? So I followed him, staying back, just trying to work up the courage to approach. That's when it happened. We were passing through Maple Alley when several rogue wolves emerged from the shadows. 5 of them, all massive and scarred. Well, look what we have here. Their leader sneered. The great Alpha all alone. Brother shifted immediately, his Alpha presence flaring. But they were ready for him. While they fought, I frantically called his assistant James. Alpha Council building, Maple Alley, 5 attackers, send backup now. I screamed into the phone. Brother was incredible. Even outnumbered, he took down 2 of them quickly. But the 3rd got lucky, catching him with a blow to the head when he was distracted. He went down hard. That's when I saw the silver blade in the leader's hand, aimed straight at brother's heart. I didn't think. I just ran. The blade meant for his chest went into my back instead. Silver burned through me like liquid fire. As I collapsed on top of brother, trying to shield him, I heard a familiar voice cry out. No. You idiots, you weren't supposed to hurt the Alpha. Sophia. I wanted to turn around, to see her face, but I had no strength left. Her voice was panicked now. The Rogue King promised me you wouldn't harm Garrett. This wasn't the plan. Plans change, princess, the leader laughed. Your boyfriend was too much trouble. But don't worry, we'll make it look like the sister did it. Just clean this up properly, Sophia said, her voice cold now. And stick to the story we discussed. I passed out in a pool of my own blood, still covering my brother's unconscious body. The studio fell completely silent. Even Marcus seemed stunned by what he'd just read. The diary ended there. June 18th. Someone in the online comments finally typed, "Wait, isn't that the day Arya couldn't stand Sophia becoming her sister-in-law and stabbed her with a silver dagger? The day she almost made Sophia lose her wolf." Exactly. She couldn't bear seeing others happy. Such a twisted mind. Right, that incident caused quite a stir. Sophia was hospitalized for weeks. I remember after that, Garrett publicly disowned his sister. Said she'd crossed a line that could never be forgiven. Sophia nearly died from those injuries. Lost so much blood they thought she might not make it. After that, Arya completely disappeared. Everyone said she killed herself out of shame. But then one comment appeared that silenced the others. But here's the question. How does a suicide victim dismember their own body? Who knows what evil things someone like her could do? Another comment flashed across the screen. Marcus continued examining the diary, but something nagged at him. His years of investigative experience told him there were missing pieces. He was convinced things weren't as simple as they seemed. There has to be more, he muttered to the camera crew. A story this twisted doesn't end with just a diary. He decided to search the old house thoroughly, moving methodically through each room. The bedroom yielded nothing. The kitchen was empty except for rotting food and broken dishes. But in the corner of the living room, behind a loose floorboard, something caught his eye. Finally, with a soft clinking sound, He discovered a memory crystal partially buried under debris. Marcus held it up to the light, squinting at the cloudy surface. This could be significant. Memory crystals store visual recordings in our pack culture. He picked up the dust-covered crystal, handling it carefully like the precious evidence it might be. If this contains what I think it does, Marcus wiped it clean with his sleeve and activated the recording mechanism. The crystal glowed softly, then projected images into the air. The camera faithfully recorded everything as the holographic display materialized. All those following the case were waiting to see what would be revealed. The live stream viewer count spiked to over 100,000 as word spread. Naturally, the adoptive parents and Garrett sitting in their living room were watching too. The adoptive mother clutched her husband's arm. What if this shows something we don't want to see? Nonsense, the father replied, but his voice shook slightly. Sophia would never. Garrett said nothing. His jaw clenched tight as he stared at the screen. The progress bar kept moving forward as the crystal's memory played out. People finally saw Sophia from another perspective. And it wasn't the gentle, caring woman they knew. The first scenes showed Sophia alone with me in various locations. Her entire demeanor was different. Cold, calculating, cruel. They couldn't believe it. Sophia, who appeared so gentle and beautiful in public, was privately showing her sadistic side to her sister without any restraint. This can't be real, the adoptive mother whispered. But the evidence was undeniable. Of course, some people in the online comments kept making excuses. For Sophia, this has to be edited. Deepfake technology. Arya must have always bullied Sophia first. That's why she got angry and fought back. Right. Sophia isn't a saint. Why can't she defend herself? Nobody's perfect. Everyone has a dark side. She just used harsh words. She didn't actually hurt anyone physically. Being weak is the original sin. Arya deserved what she got. If she couldn't stand up for herself, how can she blame others for bullying her? What does she have to feel wronged about? She brought this on herself. But as the video continued, these defensive comments began to fade. The crystal's recording showed a particularly brutal scene. I was cornered in what looked like an abandoned warehouse, surrounded by several rogue wolves. No one could hear clearly what I was shouting. My voice was raw with terror and pain. They could only hear me being beaten continuously, the sound of fists and claws connecting with flesh. Please, my voice came through weakly. I never did anything to hurt you. The rogues laughed cruelly. Orders are orders, little Omega. Then Sophia appeared in the frame, stepping out of the shadows like she'd been watching the entire time. She was perfectly composed, not a hair out of place. She raised her hand, and the people hitting me finally stopped. That's enough for now, she said calmly. She walked over to where I lay bleeding on the concrete floor. With deliberate slowness, she pulled out a silver blade and slashed my face, leaving a deep gash from temple to jaw. She spoke smugly, her voice dripping with satisfaction. Fight against me? You're not worthy. Blood ran down my cheek as I struggled to focus on her face. It doesn't feel good being unable to speak your pain, does it? Even if I let you die here, no one would care. Your life is truly meaningless. She crouched down, bringing her face close to mine. So why do you exist? You're such an eyesore. Arya, that expression again? Acting like you don't care about anything. If you really don't care, you should just disappear yourself. My voice was barely a whisper. Why? I never wanted to compete with you. Because you exist, she screamed suddenly, her mask of composure slipping. She scarred my face again with the blade. Seeing me in agony but forcing myself to stay silent, she laughed even more wildly. Your very existence disgusts people. You're completely worthless. Yet you always try to steal others' attention. Only when you're dead can I feel at peace. Her voice turned venomous. Garrett actually wanted to give you half of our parents' inheritance. You think you deserve it? A pathetic Omega who can't even shift properly. She stood up, pacing around my broken form. Let you start fresh in a new environment? Impossible. I won't allow it. You can only die. Someone who shouldn't exist in the first place. Death is your destiny. Her attacks grew more vicious. Even after I completely lost consciousness, she didn't stop. She kicked my Ribs stomped on my hands, her face twisted with pure hatred. The online comments had gone completely silent. When she finally stood up satisfied, she spoke to the rogue wolves. I'm leaving this bitch for you to handle. This time, don't play around like you did before. I don't want to see her again. She brushed dirt off her clothes casually. Do whatever you want with her, but remember to clean up properly afterward. One of the rogues grinned. What about the alpha? He's been sniffing around lately. I'll keep an eye on the pack's defense blueprints for you, Sophia replied coldly. But one thing, Garrett Blackwood cannot be touched. After all, his stable position benefits both of us. She pulled out a rolled paper from her jacket. Here's next week's patrol schedule. The eastern border will be unguarded Tuesday night. The screen went dark again. They could only hear laughter and cruel sounds echoing through the warehouse. Tearing. Breaking. The sound of metal on bone. Then came my whimpering cries, growing weaker and weaker until they stopped altogether. When the image appeared again, it showed body parts scattered across the concrete floor like discarded meat. The memory crystal went dark. In the dead silence that followed, Marcus stared at the empty air where the hologram had been. His hands shook as he set the crystal down. Dear Moon Goddess, he whispered. What have we done? Seeing the bloody, mangled scene on screen, everyone was stunned into absolute silence. For several seconds, no one spoke. No one typed. The entire livestream seemed frozen in horror. Then the comments exploded. So Arya really was murdered. She was tortured to death by her own sister. Didn't they say she staged it all herself? How do you stage your own dismemberment? Back then Garrett even came forward to scold Arya for wasting public resources. He defended the woman who killed his sister. What did those pack defense blueprints mean? The pack's been under constant rogue wolf attacks for years. It was all planned. Wait, Garrett's been able to smoothly inherit the alpha position these past few years, because he successfully defended the pack. But it was all because of his mate's inside information. She was feeding our enemies our defense plans while pretending to help defend against them. How many pack members died because of her betrayal? This is treason at the highest level. The moment when truth emerges is always hard to accept. But this truth was devastating. Everyone fell silent. In the Blackwood living room, my adoptive parents and Garrett were equally silent, staring at the screen in shock. The adoptive mother's hands trembled as she reached for her husband. Harold, tell me this isn't real. Tell me our Sophia didn't, but Harold couldn't speak. His face had gone ashen. Garrett's eyes were fixed on Sophia, who sat frozen like a deer in headlights. He looked at her in complete disbelief, as if seeing her for the first time. Several long moments passed before he finally managed to speak. Sophia. His voice was barely above a whisper. What is this about? Seeing Sophia's pale face and the way her hands shook, he suppressed his inner rage and shock, trying to give her one last chance to explain. One last chance to prove this was all some horrible mistake. How should I know? She said, but her voice cracked. She stood up abruptly, nearly knocking over her chair. Mom, Dad, Garrett, you have to believe me. This must be Arya deliberately framing me from beyond the grave. Her words came out in a rush. She was always manipulative, always scheming. Even in death, she's trying to destroy our family. Garrett, you know I love you more than anything. How could I do something like this that would put you in an unjust position? She grabbed his hands, squeezing them desperately. How can you not trust me? After everything we've been through together. Sophia's tears came instantly, but for the first time since they'd been together, Garrett didn't move to comfort her. He just stared at her, his expression unreadable. In the next second, Marcus's voice cut through the tension from the TV. Wait, there's something else here. Marcus had moved to a corner of the room, and picked up a small metal object from the debris. He held it up for the camera to capture in close-up. Dear Moon Goddess, he breathed. After carefully examining its contents, Marcus exclaimed in shock. This is the Rogue King's token. This token can command all rogue members in the region. He turned it over, showing the intricate engravings that marked it as authentic. This isn't some replica you can buy. This is the real thing. Only the Rogue King himself can grant these. No wonder those rogue wolves obeyed her every word. She had the authority to command them. Marcus looked directly into the camera. I could doubt everything else we've seen, but this is the Rogue King's token. Physical evidence of treason. She wouldn't use such a brutal death to frame someone, would she? What kind of person plans their own dismemberment, just to make someone look bad? The weight of this new evidence hit everyone like a physical blow. Garrett was now completely stunned. His face went through several emotions: confusion, denial, rage, and finally a terrible understanding. He looked at Sophia with eyes that seemed to see straight through her. "Garrett, don't look at me like that," Sophia said quickly, backing away from him. "My stomach suddenly hurt so much. I think I'm going to be sick. I want to go lie down in my room." She was already moving toward the stairs, her movements jerky and panicked. "Sister Arya is already dead. She committed suicide. This must be something she set up on purpose to get attention and make us miserable even from the grave." She reached for Garrett's hand, trying to pull him with her. "Come on, let's go upstairs. We don't need to watch this garbage anymore." But this time it didn't work. Garrett gripped Sophia's arm tightly, his fingers digging into her flesh. "Everything in that video was real, wasn't it?" His voice was deadly quiet. "Why did you kill Arya? What about that Rogue King? How long have you been working with him? And the pack defense blueprints, did you really steal them?" Each question hit like a hammer blow. Hearing Garrett's interrogation, Sophia frantically shook her head, denying everything. She cried pitifully, tears streaming down her face. "Garrett, don't treat me like this. You're scaring me. I really never did any of those things. You know me. I could never hurt anyone. Please believe me. Don't let that bitch turn you against me even from the grave." But this time Garrett pulled out his phone and directly called his assistant. "James, I need you to run a full investigation on Sophia. Everything. Financial records, communications, travel history. I want it all." "Garrett, no." Sophia lunged for the phone, but he held her back. "I only want to hear the investigation results," he told James firmly. "And contact the Alpha Council. Tell them we need to discuss some urgent security matters." Just as he was about to end the call, my voice suddenly came from the TV. Everyone turned to look. There I was, sitting in what looked like my small apartment. But I looked different, tired, resigned, but strangely peaceful. "Hello everyone, I'm Arya Blackwood." My voice was clear and steady. "I know you all wish I would die. Good news, I really am dead." Gave a bitter smile. I knew Sophia wouldn't let me live, because I discovered her secret. Originally I thought that after investigating everything and telling my brother, he would see Sophia's true face. Unfortunately, I underestimated Sophia's methods. She was too ruthless, too clever. I was no match for her. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Who would have thought that the pack's future Luna would betray the pack and secretly pass information to rogue wolves? Even as I said this, I shook my head in disbelief. So I knew Sophia would definitely want to kill me, because I stumbled upon her secret. She didn't hesitate to hurt herself to frame me, poisoning herself, staging rogue wolf attacks. It was all self-directed theater, just to make my family distrust me and leave me completely isolated. My voice broke slightly. She wouldn't allow me to reveal her plans with the Rogue King. I knew she wouldn't let me live, so I'm making this recording as insurance. I looked directly into the camera, my eyes filled with sadness but also determination. I knew she wouldn't let me live, but at least now you'll know the truth. I cried sadly, but my eyes held a strange sense of acceptance. If you're watching this, it means I'm already dead. Please don't let her get away with it. The memory crystal played its final words, and then stopped. The next image showed my door being broken down by the rogue wolves. I was sitting calmly on my bed, not trying to run or hide. Didn't move, calmly accepting my inevitable death. "I'm sorry, brother," I whispered to the empty room. "I'm sorry I couldn't be the sister you wanted." The image stopped at that moment. The silence in the Blackwood house was deafening. The live stream chat exploded with discussion. Messages flooded in so fast they became an unreadable blur. "I can't believe we were so wrong about her. We literally helped destroy an innocent girl. How could we be so blind? The pack failed her completely. Marcus stood up slowly, his legs shaking. He wiped the tears from his eyes with the back of his hand. The camera caught every emotion on his weathered face as he struggled to compose himself. He faced the camera with a choked voice, his words barely audible at first. I want to say that Arya Blackwood was not the evil bitch everyone called her. His voice grew stronger with each word. On the contrary, she was a girl who longed for her family's care and was truly kind. Marcus paused, looking directly into the camera lens. She was just a young woman who wanted to belong somewhere, who wanted someone to love her unconditionally. His voice cracked. Unfortunately, the family she hoped would protect her chose to stand beside the person who wanted to kill her. Every single person who should have cared for her turned their backs when she needed them most. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. The Alpha Council also failed to give her the truth she deserved. We failed her. I failed her. He took a shuddering breath. I'm deeply sorry. To Arya, wherever she is now, and to everyone who believed the lies. The weight of his words settled over the viewers like a heavy blanket. This time, the viewers weren't cursing me anymore. The hostile comments that had dominated every discussion about me suddenly disappeared. They were flooding the comments with apologies instead. I'm so sorry, Arya. I said terrible things about you. We were all wrong. So horribly wrong. How do we live with ourselves after this? She must have felt so alone. For a moment, only two phrases stood out prominently on the message board, repeated thousands of times. I'm sorry. Investigate the truth. I'm sorry. Investigate the truth. The pattern continued, an endless scroll of remorse and demands for justice. Meanwhile, at the Blackwood house, the sound of heavy vehicles pulling up outside broke the tense silence. Car doors slammed. Footsteps approached. Garrett received notification that the Alpha Council was requesting his cooperation in their investigation. The doorbell rang once, then twice. When Garrett opened the door, 3 stern-faced council members stood on his doorstep. Alpha Blackwood, the lead investigator said formally, "We need to speak with you." They entered without waiting for permission, their expressions grim. "Alpha, we've confirmed that the pack defense blueprints have indeed been leaked from your end these past few years." The investigator pulled out a tablet, showing him detailed analysis reports. "The timing is too precise to be coincidental. Every single area you were responsible for securing was never attacked by rogue wolves, while the areas you weren't covering suffered devastating losses." He swiped through satellite images and attack reports. 23 pack members died in those attacks. Dozens more were injured. How do you explain this? Hearing the pack council's questions, Garrett looked at Sophia again, searching her face for any sign of innocence. Any hint that this was all some terrible misunderstanding. "You tell me, what exactly is going on?" His voice was deadly quiet. Garrett's vicious stare made Sophia's legs go weak. She actually stumbled backward, catching herself on the couch. "How is that possible? How could I do such a thing?" Her voice was high and shaky now. "Garrett, we've been together for so many years. Do you really think I'm that kind of evil person?" She reached for him desperately. "You know me. You know my heart." Seeing them arguing, the adoptive parents stood up to speak. The mother's voice was pleading. "Garrett, don't be so quick to assume Sophia did this. There has to be some explanation. Some mistake." Harold nodded vigorously. "Sophia is the daughter I raised with my own hands. I've watched her grow up. I still believe her. She couldn't hurt a fly, let alone orchestrate something like this." But Garrett wouldn't accept their words anymore. He connected every incident from the past in his mind, seeing patterns he'd been blind to before. After reuniting with me, he truly had felt sorry for his biological sister. That's why he'd always stood in front of me, repeatedly telling me not to be afraid. He'd even tried to help me integrate into this strange family, believing it was the right thing to do. And I had always depended on him completely, looking at him with such trust and hope. In my world, Garrett was the most trustworthy person. The only person who would never betray me. I wouldn't lie, at least not to him. I'd never had any reason to. But what had he done with that trust? He let his sister, who trusted him more than anyone else in the world, be brutally murdered. Repeatedly framed and falsely accused while he stood by and watched. Finally broken down by the constant attacks and hurt. Dying alone and afraid. From beginning to end, he was shocked to realize that his promise to always protect me. Every single word he'd spoken about being there for me. When faced with Sophia's manipulation, it all turned to nothing. Even when I was being cursed and insulted online, when those accusations were piled on me one by one. He'd also spoken cruel words, completely blocking my path to salvation. He'd publicly disowned me, called me unworthy of being his sister. He had sworn to protect the sister he'd rescued. He'd promised our dying parents. Thinking of this, rage and self-hatred consumed him. He couldn't control himself and slapped his own face hard. Enough to leave a mark. You failed her, Garrett whispered to himself, his voice hollow with self-hatred. You failed her completely. The weight of his realization crushed down on him like a physical force. Then he roared at Sophia, his alpha voice making the windows rattle and crack. Sophia, did you really think your schemes would never be discovered? Without warning, Garrett angrily slapped Sophia several times across the face. The sound echoed through the room like gunshots, each impact more vicious than the last. Sophia cried pitifully, blood trickling from her split lip and swollen nose. Mom, Dad, help me. She begged her parents for help, crawling toward them on her hands and knees like a wounded animal. But the parents were now intimidated by Garrett's fury and didn't dare interfere. They'd never seen him like this. Never seen an alpha's rage unleashed at full force. The very air seemed to vibrate with his anger. You bitch. Garrett's voice was raw with emotion, his throat already hoarse from shouting. You said you loved me, but you conspired with our enemies to frame me. You used me. You made me complicit in my own sister's murder. If you hadn't constantly stirred up trouble, manipulated every situation, how could Arya have been kicked out? His fists were shaking with the effort to control himself, his wolf clawing to get out. Every single thing that happened to her was because of you. After being hit, something inside Sophia snapped completely. She suddenly burst into wild, hysterical laughter that sent chills down everyone's spine. She looked completely crazed, blood on her face, her hair disheveled, her eyes gleaming with madness. You chose not to believe her yourself. What does that have to do with me? Her voice took on a mocking sing-song tone. I never forced you to unconditionally support me in everything. You chose to hurt her yourself. You think I held a gun to your head? Made you choose sides. She stood up unsteadily, wiping blood from her mouth and laughing at the red stain on her palm. Besides, you believed everything I said. How can you blame me for that? I just told you stories, Garrett. You're the one who decided she was lying every time. Her laugh grew more maniacal, echoing off the walls. Now that the truth is out, you feel like you've been deceived. But here's the real truth. You're not angry that I killed her. She pointed an accusing finger at him, her hand trembling with either fear or excitement. You're angry that my help to you was discovered and you'll lose everything you have now. Your alpha position, your reputation, your assets. That's what you're really worried about, isn't it? Her voice turned venomous, each word dripping with poison. When your own interests weren't threatened, you could easily let it go. But once you're threatened, everything becomes my fault. She spat blood on the expensive carpet. You disgust me, Garrett. You're just as selfish as I am, but at least I'm honest about it. Garrett immediately flew into a rage beyond anything he'd ever felt. He angrily slapped Sophia several more times, harder this time, his hand leaving clear prints on her swollen face. He even kicked her to the ground, his wolf trying to surface, claws extending slightly. You're truly evil, using such cruel methods to kill an innocent girl. My sister. My baby sister who never hurt anyone in her entire life. Sophia was covered in blood but just kept laughing, the sound echoing off the walls like the cries of a banshee. Innocent? She was going to expose everything, ruin everything we'd built together. She had to die, Garrett. There was no other choice. It was her or us. The pack council members quickly stepped forward to stop Garrett's violence. Alpha Blackwood stepped back. We'll investigate the specifics ourselves. You just need to cooperate and tell us what you know. Two of them restrained Garrett while the third called for backup. This is now a crime scene. Everyone needs to remain calm. That day, Garrett was taken away for further investigation, his hands cuffed behind his back. As they led him to the car, reporters swarmed like vultures. Alpha Blackwood, did you know about the treason? How long have you been covering for a murderer? What do you say to the families of the pack members who died? Sophia was rushed to the pack hospital under heavy guard, her injuries requiring immediate medical attention. During the investigation, more evidence surfaced daily. Bank records showed massive payments from rogue sources. Communication logs revealed years of coordinated attacks. The scope of Sophia's betrayal was staggering. When she was finally stable enough, Sophia was handcuffed and put into a police car, her face still swollen and bruised. The adoptive parents chased after the car, heartbroken and desperate. Please. She's hurt. She needs more time to recover. The mother was hysterical, beating her fists against the car windows until her knuckles bled. Miss Sophia is suspected of hiring assassins for murder, treason, and selling pack secrets to enemy forces, the officer explained coldly. We're taking her in for formal investigation and arraignment. Harold tried to follow the car as it pulled away. We'll get her the best lawyers. We'll fight this. Our daughter is innocent. But his voice was already fading as the car disappeared down the road. Watching her being taken away, the parents collapsed to the ground and cried hysterically. Their perfect daughter, their pride and joy, was gone forever. After the investigation results were announced, Sophia faced the biggest spotlight of her life. Every news outlet in the werewolf world covered the story. Future Luna exposed as traitor and murderer. Pack defense secrets sold to Rogue King for 5 years. Innocent sister tortured to death by jealous sibling. The headlines grew more sensational each day. Of course, from then on, she would cease to exist in any meaningful way. Sophia's trial lasted 3 weeks and became a media circus. The evidence was overwhelming. The memory crystal recordings played in court made even hardened warriors sick. But Sophia's suffering began long before her execution. In prison, other inmates learned who she was, what she had done. They didn't take kindly to traitors. Sophia was beaten daily. Her food was poisoned. Her cell was vandalized with threats. The guards turned a blind eye to her suffering. You sold out our pack, one guard told her. You deserve everything you get. By the time of her execution, Sophia was a broken, whimpering shell of her former self. Her beautiful face was scarred and hollow. Her mind had snapped completely under the torture and isolation. She was sentenced to death after the jury deliberated for less than an hour. The things she'd done in secret were far worse than what the livestream had shown. She'd been selling information for over 5 years. She'd orchestrated at least a dozen attacks that resulted in pack member deaths. She'd embezzled funds meant for pack defense and used them for luxury items. The list of crimes seemed endless. The adoptive parents suffered their own cruel fate. Once Sophia's crimes were exposed, the pack turned on them completely. They raised a traitor, people whispered. They must have known something. Harold lost his job immediately. No one would hire him. Their house was vandalized daily. Windows broken, walls spray painted with traitor. Lovers. The mother had a nervous breakdown and was hospitalized. Harold couldn't pay the medical bills. They lost their house. Within 6 months, they were living in a homeless shelter, shunned by everyone they'd once called friends. This is all Aria's fault, Harold muttered bitterly. If she'd never come back, none of this would have happened. Even then, they blamed me instead of accepting the truth about their precious Sophia. Although Garrett had been unaware of the extent of Sophia's betrayal, the defense blueprints had indeed leaked from his hands. The Alpha Council had no choice. He was stripped of his Alpha status, and all his assets were confiscated. Everything he'd worked for, everything he'd inherited, was gone. After Garrett was released from custody, he completely severed ties with his adoptive parents. They'd enabled Sophia's behavior for years, refused to see the truth even when it was staring them in the face. But the worst part was yet to come. Garrett became obsessed with finding my grave, my remains, anything to prove to himself that I had existed, that I had mattered. He searched every cemetery in 3 states. He contacted every funeral home, every crematorium. But he found nothing. No record of Arya Blackwood's burial. No documentation of my death. I had been erased so completely that it was as if I'd never existed at all. "Where is she?" he screamed at the empty cemetery office. "My sister has to be somewhere. She can't just be gone." But the clerk just shook his head sadly. "I'm sorry, sir. There's no record of anyone by that name." That night, Garrett drove to the old house where I'd been murdered. He sat in his car, staring at the broken windows and rotting walls. "Arya," he whispered to the darkness. "I'm so sorry. I failed you in every way possible." His voice broke. "I was supposed to protect you. I promised Mom and Dad I'd take care of you. Instead, I handed you over to your killer. I chose her over you every single time." He pulled out a gun, the weight heavy in his trembling hands. "I can't live with this. I can't live knowing what I did to you." I watched from the shadows as my brother held the gun to his temple. Part of me wanted to stop him, the part that remembered how he used to protect me as children. But a larger part of me felt nothing but cold satisfaction. He was finally understanding the pain he'd caused me, the isolation, the betrayal, the complete abandonment. "You want forgiveness?" I said, though he couldn't hear me. "You want to take the easy way out and escape to wherever the dead go?" "No. You don't get to die feeling sorry for yourself. You get to live with what you did. You get to live every day knowing you killed your sister with your choices." I reached out with whatever power my spirit possessed, and knocked the gun from his hands. It clattered across the pavement, and into a storm drain. Garrett stared at his empty hands in shock. "What? How? Live with it?" I whispered into the wind. "Live with the guilt for the rest of your miserable life." He broke down completely then, sobbing like a broken child. But I felt nothing for his tears. It was too late for his remorse. Meanwhile, Marcus had quietly collected my ashes from the morgue. He'd refused the money Garrett offered him when he came begging for information about my remains. "I don't want your guilt money," Marcus said firmly. "But I do want to honor her memory properly." He took my ashes to the seaside alone, driving for hours to reach the coast. He'd researched my diary entries, found the beach I'd written about wanting to visit. The sun was just beginning to rise as he arrived. "I heard you loved the ocean," he said to the small urn in his hands. "I brought you to see it, just in time for sunrise." He opened the urn carefully, letting the ocean breeze catch some of my ashes. "How is it? Beautiful, right?" As my ashes scattered over the waves, something extraordinary happened. I appeared beside him, no longer broken and battered. I smiled, looking toward the sun bursting from the horizon in the distance. My once broken and battered appearance had instantly transformed, becoming youthful and radiant again. The girl I should have been allowed to become. "Thank you, Marcus," I said, my voice carried on the ocean breeze. "You're the only one who showed me real kindness at the end. It's beautiful. It's perfect." For the first time in years, I was finally at peace. Away from the family that destroyed me. Away from the brother who failed me. Away from all the pain and betrayal. Here, with the endless ocean and eternal sunrise, I could finally rest.